Most people spend their lives searching for happiness in places where it was never meant to stay. They look for it in relationships, approval, attention, and constant companionship. Yet the more they depend on the outside world to feel complete, the more disconnected they become from the greatest source of peace they already possess themselves. What if the life you've been searching for doesn't begin when someone enters it? What if it begins the moment you learn to enjoy your own presence? The truth is that many people fear being alone, but very few ever discover the extraordinary power hidden within solitude. Silence is not empty. Solitude is not punishment. Being alone is not a sign that something is missing from your life. In many cases, it is where life finally begins to make sense. Today, we're exploring 5 powerful lessons that reveal why spending time with yourself can become one of the most transformative experiences of your life. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Learn the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. One of the greatest misunderstandings in modern society is the belief that being alone automatically means being lonely. They are not the same. Loneliness comes from feeling disconnected, even when surrounded by people. Solitude, on the other hand, is a conscious choice to reconnect with yourself. Many people stay in unhealthy environments simply because they fear being alone. They tolerate negativity, disrespect, and superficial relationships because silence feels uncomfortable. But remaining in the wrong company can be far more damaging than spending time by yourself. When you embrace solitude, you create space for peace. You no longer waste energy trying to fit into places where you don't belong. Instead, you begin building a stronger relationship with the one person who will be with you every day of your life. There is tremendous freedom in realizing that your value is not determined by who stands beside you. Lesson 2. Solitude reveals who you really are. The noise of everyday life can be overwhelming. Social media, opinions, expectations, responsibilities, and constant distractions often pull us in countless directions. In the middle of all that noise, it's easy to lose touch with ourselves. But when you spend time alone, something remarkable happens. You begin to hear your own thoughts more clearly. You start asking deeper questions. What truly matters to me? What kind of life do I want? What beliefs am I carrying that no longer serve me? These moments of reflection create self-awareness, and self-awareness is the foundation of growth. Many of the answers people desperately search for already exist within them. They simply haven't given themselves enough quiet moments to listen. Solitude becomes a mirror. It shows you your strengths, your weaknesses, your fears, your dreams, and your untapped potential. The more honest you become with yourself, the more clarity you gain about the direction of your life. Lesson 3. Stop needing external validation. One of the biggest obstacles to inner peace is the constant need for approval. Many people spend years seeking acceptance from others. They want recognition, praise, and reassurance. They measure their worth by how much attention they receive. But true confidence is not built through applause. True confidence is built in private moments. It develops when you learn to trust your own judgment, respect your own values, and stand firm in your beliefs even when nobody is watching. When you become comfortable with solitude, you stop relying on others to define your happiness. You stop chasing validation because you no longer need someone else's permission to feel worthy. This shift changes everything. You become emotionally stronger, more independent, and less affected by criticism or rejection. Instead of looking outward for approval, you begin finding confidence from within. And that confidence is far more powerful because nobody can take it away from you. Lesson 4. Growth happens in quiet places. The most important transformations rarely happen in crowded rooms. They happen in silence. They happen during moments of reflection, discipline, and self-discovery. Think about it. Every major breakthrough begins internally before it appears externally. Athletes train alone. Writers create alone. Visionaries spend countless hours developing ideas in solitude before sharing them with the world. Growth requires space. When you're constantly distracted by other people, you often lose sight of your own development. But solitude allows you to focus your attention where it matters most on becoming a better version of yourself. It gives you time to learn new skills, strengthen your mindset, heal emotional wounds, and build a life aligned with your values. Every moment invested in personal growth becomes a gift to your future self. Lesson 5. Become your own source of strength. Life is unpredictable. People leave, circumstances change, plans fall apart. If your happiness depends entirely on external factors, your peace will always be fragile. But when you learn to rely on yourself, you develop a strength that remains steady through life's challenges. Solitude teaches resilience. It teaches you that you can survive difficult seasons. It teaches you that you can make decisions, overcome obstacles, and continue moving forward even when support is limited. You begin to understand that the strength you've been searching for has been inside you all along. The goal isn't to isolate yourself from the world. Human connection is important. Relationships matter, but before you can build healthy connections with others, you must first build a healthy relationship with yourself. The people who thrive in life are not those who fear being alone. They are those who have learned how to enjoy their own company. So the next time you find yourself alone, don't see it as emptiness. See it as an opportunity to reflect, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to discover the incredible person you've been too busy to meet. Because when you learn to appreciate your own presence, you unlock a kind of peace that no external circumstance can ever take away. And that may be one of the greatest forms of freedom a person can experience. There comes a point in life when you realize something important. If your peace depends on people always being there for you, then your peace will always be fragile. Because people change, situations change, and life never stays predictable. That's why learning to stand on your own becomes one of the most powerful transformations you can ever go through. Not in a way that pushes people away, but in a way that pulls you back to yourself. When you start depending less on others for emotional stability, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting for someone to fix how you feel. You stop needing constant reassurance just to feel okay. And slowly, you begin discovering a strength you may have ignored for years, the strength that already exists within you. You start facing problems differently. Instead of immediately looking outward for answers, you pause and ask yourself, what can I do about this? And that simple shift builds resilience. Because every time you handle something on your own, your confidence grows. You stop seeing challenges as threats and start seeing them as situations you are capable of navigating. Not perfectly, but steadily and with control. This is where self-reliance is born. And self-reliance doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean shutting people out or refusing help when it's needed. It simply means understanding this one truth: your inner world is your responsibility. No one else can manage your emotions for you. No one else can build your mindset for you. And no one else can carry your inner peace on their shoulders forever. When you accept that, you stop feeling powerless and start feeling grounded. Over time, something even deeper develops: self-trust. You begin trusting your decisions without constantly second-guessing yourself. You stop outsourcing your judgment to other people's opinions. And instead of living in doubt, you start moving with clarity even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. There is a quiet confidence that comes with this, a calmness, a sense that no matter what happens, you will find your way through it. And that is real strength, not never struggling, but knowing you can handle the struggle. But there is another layer to this journey, something even more powerful than independence. It's learning to be at peace with yourself, to become your own support system, your own source of comfort, your own companion. Because the truth is, many people don't fear life, they fear being alone with themselves. Silence feels uncomfortable, not because it is empty, but because it reveals how unfamiliar we are with our own thoughts. But when you begin spending time with yourself intentionally, something changes. You start to understand your emotions instead of escaping them. You start recognizing your patterns instead of repeating them blindly. You start becoming aware of who you really are beneath all the noise, and slowly, you realize something life-changing. You are not someone you need to escape from. You are someone you can learn to sit with. This is what self-companionship really means. It means treating yourself with the same patience you would offer someone you care about. When you make a mistake, you don't destroy yourself with criticism. You learn, adjust, and move forward. When you feel low, you don't abandon yourself. You stay present with what you're feeling. That kind of inner relationship changes everything. Because when you stop fighting yourself, you stop needing the world to constantly validate you. You become stable from within, not dependent on applause, approval, or attention to feel okay. And surprisingly, that's when life starts to feel lighter. Not because everything becomes perfect, but because you are no longer at war with yourself. And in that space, something powerful happens. You begin to enjoy your own presence, not as loneliness, but as peace. Not as emptiness, but as freedom. And once you reach that point, you realize something most people spend their whole lives searching for. You were never missing anything. You were just learning how to come home to yourself. There's a clear difference between being alone and actually feeling lonely. Loneliness feels like emptiness. But solitude, when you embrace it fully, becomes something else entirely. It becomes a space where you reconnect with yourself in the most meaningful way. When you learn self-companionship, you stop running away from your own presence and start discovering comfort in it. Suddenly, the quiet moments don't feel heavy anymore. They feel peaceful. You begin to enjoy the simple things again, reading something that expands your mind, taking a slow walk without distraction, sitting in silence, or meditating and just observing your thoughts without judgment. These small habits may seem ordinary, but they slowly rebuild your connection with yourself. They bring a sense of fulfillment that doesn't depend on anyone else. As this relationship with yourself deepens, independence naturally grows. You stop placing your emotional stability in the hands of other people. Instead, you realize something powerful: you are responsible for your own happiness. And that realization changes your entire mindset. Because when your sense of peace comes from within, life stops feeling so unstable. You become anchored. Even when circumstances shift or challenges appear, there is a part of you that remains steady. This is why solitude is not something to avoid. It becomes something you value, a space where you reset your mind, reflect on your life, and reconnect with who you are beneath all the noise of the world. Over time, self-companionship strengthens your emotional resilience. You stop reacting to everything around you. You stop being easily pulled by praise or criticism. Instead, you develop an inner balance that keeps you grounded regardless of external opinions. This is emotional independence in its truest form, the ability to stay centered even when life becomes unpredictable. And from that stability, something even more powerful begins to grow: authenticity in your relationships. When you are no longer afraid of being alone, You stop entering relationships out of desperation or fear. You don't cling to people just to fill a void. Instead, you connect from a place of wholeness. Your relationships become healthier, more honest, more balanced, built on respect and genuine connection rather than emotional dependency. Because you are no longer searching for someone to complete you, you already feel complete within yourself. And when that happens, life becomes easier to navigate. Not because problems disappear, but because your inner foundation becomes stronger than your problems. You become emotionally steady, more self-aware, more confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. At the deepest level, self-companionship teaches you something life-changing: you are enough. And once you accept that truth, everything begins to shift. You no longer chase happiness in external places that cannot hold it. Instead, you start experiencing it in your own presence, in your own thoughts, in your own quiet moments. This inner relationship becomes your greatest source of strength. It travels with you everywhere. It supports you in uncertainty. It calms you in difficulty. And it reminds you again and again that you don't need to become someone else to feel whole. You just need to come back to yourself. Now there is another powerful layer to this journey: learning to value your individuality. In a world that constantly pressures you to fit in, follow trends, and meet expectations, it takes real awareness to stay connected to who you truly are. But individuality is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength. When you spend time alone, away from outside influence, you start hearing your own voice more clearly. You understand your thoughts without distortion. You reconnect with your desires, your values, and the direction that actually feels right for you, not what others expect from you. This is where authenticity begins. You realize you are not meant to copy others or live according to someone else's blueprint. You are meant to think differently, choose differently, and walk a path that reflects your own truth. And that realization is freeing, because you stop comparing yourself to people who were never meant to define your journey. You stop chasing approval that was never necessary for your growth. Instead, you begin trusting your own judgment, your own instincts, your own inner compass. And slowly, you start building a life that actually feels like yours, not one shaped by pressure, but one shaped by purpose. In the end, embracing your individuality and building a relationship with yourself lead to the same place: a life that feels grounded, peaceful, and deeply your own, not because everything is perfect, but because you are finally living in alignment with who you truly are. And as you continue walking this path of self-companionship, you begin to notice something subtle but powerful: your mind becomes quieter. The constant need to overthink what others feel about you starts fading away. You no longer replay conversations in your head or search for hidden meanings in every reaction. Instead, you begin to live more fully in the present moment, free from the weight of unnecessary mental noise. This inner stillness becomes one of your greatest forms of freedom. With this new clarity, your decisions also become stronger and more intentional. You stop choosing based on fear, pressure, or the desire to please others, and start choosing based on what truly aligns with your values. Even when uncertainty appears, you trust yourself enough to move forward without constant reassurance. That trust in your own direction slowly builds a sense of courage that no external opinion can shake. And perhaps the most beautiful transformation of all is this: you start to genuinely enjoy your own life, even in its simplest form. You don't need constant excitement, validation, or distraction to feel okay. A quiet morning, a thoughtful moment, or time spent reflecting becomes enough. In that space, you realize that peace was never something you had to chase. It was something you had to uncover within yourself all along. True fulfillment is never found in status, attention, or possessions. Whether it's career achievements, social recognition, or material success, none of these things can define your true worth. Buddhism gently guides us back inward, reminding us that real value is discovered not in what we acquire, but in who we are at our core. The more you begin to honor your individuality, the less you feel pressured to blend into expectations that were never meant for you. You start to understand that you were never created to live as a copy of someone else's life. Your value is not measured by how well you fit into society's standards, but by how honestly you live in alignment with your own truth. This inner shift naturally builds self-confidence, not the loud kind that depends on approval, but a quiet, steady confidence that comes from self-respect. You begin to feel a genuine sense of pride in simply being yourself, without needing to prove anything to anyone. And with that growth comes courage. The courage to stand alone when life demands it. There will be moments when your beliefs, choices, or direction don't match those around you. In those moments, you learn something powerful. You don't need agreement to stay grounded in your truth. Buddhism teaches that real strength is not found in following the crowd, but in staying rooted within yourself, even when the world pulls you in different directions. When you start valuing your uniqueness, fitting in becomes less important than staying authentic. You stop shaping your life around expectations and start shaping it around purpose. Your decisions begin to reflect your values, your dreams, and your inner voice, not external pressure. And slowly, you build a life that feels genuinely yours. This is where true freedom begins, a life no longer driven by comparison, but guided by clarity. You no longer chase paths that don't resonate with you. Instead, you walk your own direction with confidence, even if few people understand it. And surprisingly, this doesn't push people away, it brings the right people closer. When you stop pretending to be someone else, your relationships become more real. You attract connections based on honesty, not performance. And you start to experience relationships built on mutual respect, not emotional dependency. Because people are naturally drawn to authenticity. When you accept yourself fully, you give others permission to do the same. Another powerful truth begins to reveal itself. Your individuality is not random, it is meaningful. Your experiences, your struggles, your perspective, and your journey all carry value that no one else can replicate. You are not meant to live the same story as everyone else. You are meant to contribute something uniquely yours to the world. When you understand this, comparison starts to lose its grip on you. You stop trying to imitate others and start expressing your own voice with confidence. You realize that your presence alone adds something to the world that cannot be replaced. And in the end, valuing your individuality is not just about self-acceptance, it is about self-celebration. It is about recognizing that your life, with all its highs and lows, is uniquely yours and deeply meaningful in its own way. Buddhism teaches that peace begins when you stop resisting who you are and start living in harmony with your true nature. When you embrace that truth, life begins to feel lighter, calmer, and more aligned. You begin to move through life with quiet strength. You become more grounded, more aware, and more at peace within yourself. And without even trying, you begin to inspire others to do the same, simply by being authentic. Because when one person chooses to live truthfully, it creates permission for others to do the same. And maybe that is the real gift of this journey. To realize that you were never lacking anything. You were simply becoming yourself. And in the end, everything you've been searching for outside of yourself slowly leads you back to one simple truth: you were never incomplete. You were never broken. You were simply unaware of the strength, peace, and clarity that already existed within you. The moment you stop running and start turning inward, life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like a journey of understanding who you truly are. You don't need a perfect life to feel whole. You don't need constant validation, endless success, or the approval of everyone around you. What you truly need is presence, the ability to sit with yourself, accept yourself, and grow with yourself. Because when you become your own source of peace, nothing outside of you has the power to define your inner world. So as you move forward, remember this: the greatest relationship you will ever build is the one you have with yourself. Nurture it, respect it, protect it, and return to it every time life feels overwhelming, because in that quiet space within you, you will always find clarity, strength, and a sense of calm that the world can never take away.